Hello everybody, and welcome to my first Monster Hunter World video. So let's just jump right in. I'm going to show you how to run a support build. I'm going to go over what that means and how to have the most fun with it, because why run a build if you're not going to have fun with it, right? So essentially, a support build means that your focus is not going to be dealing damage, primarily like with other builds and other weapon types even. Your main focus is going to be supporting, buffing, and healing your teammates. So let's start with what armor set skills you're going to need, because there are some very specific ones that are essential. Right off the bat, these are Free Meal Secret, or just Free Meal, although Free Meal Secret helps a ton. Wide Range is critical, Speed Eating, and Quick Sheathing. Now, full disclosure, I did record all of this prior to the release of Fatalis. Post Fatalis, really, you don't need any of these armor sets specifically to get things like Free Meal Secret or even Wide Range. If you have Fatalis armor, you can pretty much do whatever you want, because you beat the game, so, I mean, who gives a f*** at that point? You can do anything. So your biggest responsibility as a support is to keep your team healed and keep an eye on your team and make sure nobody dies. With Wide Range, you can not only use potions to heal everybody else, but things like antidotes, as you can see here. In this video, will also work with Wide Range, so you can also Wide Range things like demon drugs and armor skins if you choose to. So if you've never run a support build before, or this is your first kind of time thinking about it, you might be wondering when you should run a support build, or why even. Here is why I run support builds. Firstly, if there's a monster you want to hunt that you are not that familiar with and that really kicks your ass a lot. A prime example of that for me is this Raging Brachydios. I don't know why, I don't think it's the hardest monster in the game to hunt, but it really whoops my ass. It just feels like every time I try to make a move, I get blown up, and I mean, in this run through even, I actually even forgot my blast proof, or blast resistance, sorry, so that, I hate this thing with such passion. I just can't really get it done. I mean, look at this. So I like running support for this kind of hunt where I'm not that familiar yet with what I'm hunting, because I don't have to worry about catching it in the right spot to deal damage. I can do kind of supplementary things that help out other hunters. Aside from just healing and buffing hunters, there are a lot of things you can do as kind of a support unit to help everybody else do a lot of damage. For example, look for flinch shots. Flinch something into a wall. Also, be the guy that breaks parts. It's not exactly a ton of damage, but breaking parts increases damage on that monster's part by what, 30%? I don't know the exact number, but even if you're not doing a whole lot of damage yourself, that does drastically increase the damage that your other hunters can do. This is especially helpful with something like Safi'jiiva, which I'm going to use as an example for quite a bit of this video. If you're like me, then you're also the only player ever who is worried about wounding Safi'jiiva's parts. It seems like every time I play this, no one else just sucks it up and does this, which, if you've already hunted this thing before, that you know that wounding its parts is absolutely critical, or else you're not going to do much damage to it. So, really another reason why I run support builds is I really hate relying on hunters to do critical little things like that. With monsters like this that do kind of depend on certain gameplay mechanics to run through and hunt successfully. Of course, don't forget to look for opportunities where you can to inflict massive damage yourself. There are also a lot of windows in hunts like this where you can do massive damage to the monster by, for example, breaking down the boulders over Safi'jiiva's head. You get massive damage. Oh shit. Well, don't miss, like me, but use those windows for massive damage. I know, sad face buddy, I know. By the way, a little pro tip for Safi, a really good time to wound its head or wound its anything is right after it absorbs energy, like this. Because when it absorbs energy, it heals all its wounded parts, but you can just crack them open again right away. And after you're done that, you can get right back to healing your team, especially, again, with Safi Jiva specifically, it has these big boom attacks. I don't really know what they're called, but when all the ground explodes and blows up everybody. If you're playing with random hunters who don't really know their way around this yet or are a little overzealous, a lot of people will take damage from that and die pretty frequently. Those are your windows to heal. Do not underestimate the power of mounting. Giving other hunters a window like this to do massive damage, I think, pretty well makes up for not doing massive direct damage yourself and just keeping everybody alive. One thing I like to do for these builds, if you have room for it, is to use, I think they're the Airborne and Not Master gems. Airborne increases your aerial damage by 30%, so you can build up. Especially if a monster like this has a pretty small threshold for how much damage you need to actually mount it, at least the first time. I'd also like to point out here that I'm using a not full support build with free Meal Secret here. It's a little more aggressive. What I like to do for this semi-support build is actually run Frostcraft. If you don't know what Frostcraft is, it's from the Velkhana armored set. Basically, when your weapon is sheathed, it builds up attack power. Frostcraft is a lot of fun because although it does use up 4 Velkhana armor pieces, Velkhana armor also gives you quick sheath, which is really helpful, especially if you're not running sword and shield, to sheath your weapon quickly, to eat something and heal your teammate in a pinch. By the way, this is the same hunt just about 4 minutes later, and just with aerial damage and my gems, I've managed to mount Safi Jiva again and knock it down. I will say this is especially helpful if you are trying to break, let's say, the head of a specific monster and it's kind of hard to reach, typically. It does help a lot to have a lot of mounts and knockdowns. Also, remember, even if you don't manage to mount that many times, building up aerial damage will also allow other players to mount too. Another thing to think about as support is that you can be the player that flinch shots everything or knocks everything down out of the air with a flinch shot or runs the monster into a wall. Things that are, again, pretty crucial to a hunt since it's a knockdown that gets you a lot of free hits, but a lot of players don't take advantage of that as much as they can. Again, with Safi specifically as an example, flinching it will get you its ire, or its focus, whatever it's called. That helps out other hunters a lot since it takes the bulk of the focus off of them. And by the way, again, you can flinch shot it even right after it's absorbing for kind of a free window. It's just another thing you can do to take most of the pressure off of other hunters. This strategy also applies really well if you're hunting Behemoth. Basically, you're allowing other hunters pretty free reign to attack this thing while you get most of its focus, and you can just kind of run around for the most part if you feel like it and just heal everybody as needed. You can also focus on setting off environmental traps to help hunters a lot. Again, this is kind of an underrated thing, but for example with Safi, there's these gas pits in the last phase that a lot of hunters don't use. Again, if you play with random people that don't really know what they're doing, or if you're playing with a bunch of people who are just kind of DPS oriented, you end up missing out on these opportunities a lot. But as a support who's not concerned with dealing too much damage up front, you can kind of run around and look for these windows to use environmental hazards and do environmental damage. So that's basically all I've got for you guys. Some things to keep in mind. Remember, it is, if you've never run a support build before, it is a little weird to pay attention to everybody's health constantly as opposed to paying attention to doing damage. As you can see here, I was more worried with, I don't know, picking berries or whatever, and someone died on my watch. That is extra bad, since, you know, if you're a support and you're not being a primary damage dealer and you're letting people die, well, that's just extra garbage. So you do not want that for your team at all. So remember, pay attention to the health bars, you'll get used to it. Remember to not feel too badly if you can't save everybody, like this full health player who just got one-shotted. What can you do? In conclusion, just try it. Let me know in the comments how it went, or if you run support builds. What do you do if you do anything differently? And if you like this video for whatever reason, like, subscribe, maybe I'll make another one. Alright, that's all guys. Bye bye.